Hi, Nico.
Hey Mariana, how you doing?
Good, and you?
Good, thanks.
Can you tell us a bit more about your role at Global Education?
Well, I'm the managing director of Global. I used to be one of the very first guinea pigs of Global. Myself and George were one of the first students that studied through the company. When I finished studying, I came back to give an experience of what it was like. I was killing time in the office and I decided to sit in on a consultation with Lisa. There was a student who wanted to study locally. The parents wanted them to go overseas. Yeah, I sat in that conversation and gave them my experience of studying locally and overseas and sort of fell in love with the job and decided to stick around and started working for Global, did the entire application thing, helped go through the process of what students would go through, and then ended up opening an office in Durban. And in 2018, I took over running the business.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How long has Global been around, and what was the inception of Global?
So Global started 16 years ago. Lisa, my mother, started the business. So she started working for a lady called Sue in Zimbabwe. She was actually working as an applications officer, and she ran the business, I guess, for close to 2 years. And a lot of the universities were really impressed with the way that Lisa ran the business and said to her, why don't you start your own agency? And Lisa was quite loyal and didn't want to start that business in Zimbabwe, so she relocated to South Africa, left all of us behind to finish school. She started Global Education 16 years ago. And like I said, George and myself were one of the very first students to go through the company. And that's how the business started, and we've just been a family-run business ever since.
What separates Global from other agencies?
There's a few things. I think the main one is that we're directly contracted to all of the universities. We are an extension of the universities rather than just an agency that processes applications. So a lot of other companies do applications for students and they charge a fee, and it's just doing something that a university student can do themselves. Whereas we do the applications, but we have our own teams at the universities. So we can speed up offers. We can find out if a university needs additional information. If there's something holding up the application, we can pick the phone up and call someone to speed up the process. We assist with accommodation. We help students get their visas. And when they're on campus, if there's anything that they're struggling with, we still assist. So we're there throughout the entire student's journey. Although once they're on campus, more often than not, they do their own thing pretty much. Yeah.
And what have been some of your favorite things about Global and the impact that it has on students?
I think fighting misinformation has been my favorite thing. Seeing parents come in or come in for a consultation because they're curious, and then they automatically think it's not feasible to study overseas, and then watching them actually, the hope in their face when you realize that it actually is affordable and possible, yeah. And I think I enjoy that part, showing them that it is possible to study overseas. I like hearing from students when they're on campus and telling us, I can't believe it that I'm here, and then hearing success stories. So when students graduate, we get our reviews, we get students who send us pictures of them on campus. I think the recent one was 2 students at James Cook who graduated as doctors. We got photos of that. So I think it's a combination of things, but seeing students on campus, probably the best. Hearing parents contact you and say, we wouldn't have done this without you. That's probably the best thing about it. Yeah.
They become like an extension of
the family, yeah. And now that we have a proper CRM system in place, we'll be able to stay in touch with them, see what they're doing work-wise, and maybe expand that network outwards.
What are some exciting things that you foresee Global doing in the future?
Well, we've just started a partnership with a company called Umba, and the idea behind that is to help parents from a young age start saving to be able to afford overseas education. So that's something that I'm really excited about, because it's going to make this more affordable, more accessible to more families in South Africa. So I'm quite excited about that. Obviously the team that we've got is amazing, and I'm excited to see how they all grow as part of the business as we grow. And I just think the relationships that we have at the universities and the schools, they're just getting better and better. And I think being able to help more and more kids and seeing where they end up and seeing what happens with our staff is probably the things that excite me the most.
Nico, please tell us a bit more about the Global Education Study Abroad Expo.
So the expos are designed to fight misinformation. We open them up to the public. We try and do as many events as possible. Our big one is in May. We start in Cape Town, go to Durban, go to Johannesburg, Pretoria, and then even to Zimbabwe. And then the smaller one is in September, and we go to different parts of South Africa to try and target as many people as possible. The events are public, open to the public, so anyone can attend. And the reason for them is to give parents as much information as possible. There's a lot of misinformation in our market. A lot of parents are being told the wrong info on what it costs, what's required to apply. So instead of us constantly telling students what they can and can't do, we thought it's better for them to hear directly from our universities. So we bring out as many as possible for students to speak to the people on the ground who can tell them exactly what is on offer and what's required for them to study abroad. So the reason we do these is really to give students and parents as much information as possible.
What would you say is the biggest piece of misinformation that we're combating?
That the matric IEB isn't enough to study overseas, that students need to do additional testing or change schools in order to apply to a certain country. The IEB matric is more than enough. A lot of what people don't understand is we've bought universities out to see the matric system, to see the curriculum. We stand guarantor for the students that apply, that they are vetted and have the grades in order to apply for certain degrees. So that's probably the biggest shock for most parents, is that the matric system is more than enough for them to apply.